The next type of curriculum we're going to talk about is the creative arts curriculum. And there are several things that fall under the creative arts curriculum. It includes visual arts curriculum, it includes music curriculum, and creative movement curriculum. So we'll go through each of those separately. So the creative arts curriculum, visual arts area includes 5 basic processes. It's the drawing, painting, printing, collage and construction, and then modeling and sculpting. And throughout all 5 of these processes, students are going to be learning the elements of art. So they're going to be learning about how to use line and color and shape and space and design in order to create art. And really, the purpose of all of this is just creation. It's not about, it's the process more than the product. So what they come up with at the end doesn't have to be the perfect artistic depiction of something. It just has to be creative, and they have to have gone through the process. So it's also about playing with the materials, and you're going to get a lot of sensory stimulation and fine motor control and all the other areas of development that we talked about through the creative arts. But the creative arts are also their own thing. Some of the things that are great to comment on for kids with this is their effort. Like you look like you worked really hard on this, or maybe their innovation. Talking about how, oh, I saw you use the fat side of the side of the marker to get a fatter line than when you use the tip, and like pointing out to them the different strategies they used in their art or the techniques. So pointing out all of that stuff is really good for that kind of thing. The next kind of curriculum that falls under creative arts is the music curriculum. And the music curriculum consists of singing, playing instruments, composing and improvising, listening and appreciating, and then also performing. And the elements about music that they're going to be learning through all of those activities are rhythm, tone, and form. Some of the things that when you're talking about rhythm that you can help kids notice is the beat, the melodic rhythm, the tempo or speed of the music, and all the rests or silences in music. When it comes to the tone, you can talk to them about the pitch. Is it high or low? You can talk about the melody or tune. You can talk about the tone, color, or timbre, the characteristic sound of different instruments. You can talk about the dynamics of how loud or soft certain instruments are. And then when it comes to the form or the structure of the music, you're going to, you can talk to them about the musical ideas in pieces of music, the repetition you're seeing, the variation when things change, or the contrast when there's 2 very different sounding pieces in the same song. And then the third area of creative arts curriculum is the movement curriculum. And this includes ideas and feelings being expressed in movement. So teaching kids that the way we move expresses a lot about how we're feeling and what we're thinking. I'm so sorry about my dog. It includes the imaginative ways utilized through movement, things that you can imagine because of movement. It's about interpreting and following suggestions and practicing physical skills. And throughout all of those things, what they're going to be learning about is the movement elements, such as body awareness, space, time, and force. Body awareness is about awareness and control of the body. So like where you are in space, how can you move and get to another place? How can you move in that same place? And then being able to move one part of the body without moving the rest or isolating your muscles. Space is about how the area is used. It includes personal space versus general space. It can be high, low, or middle, where you are in that space. And the boundaries are important, like inside or outside. And then the tempo, the time is the tempo or speed of the music, whether it's slow or fast, steady or changing. And I just said music because that's where my head was, but really it's about the pace of your own movement. What tempo are you moving to? And then the force is the energy. Is it heavy or light energy, relaxed or tense energy, smooth or jerky energy, and that energy that you can feel. And then the last thing is aesthetics curriculum. And aesthetics is the love of beauty. It's the cultural criteria for judging beauty. It's individual taste, and it's responding to the singular quality of things or rejecting stereotypes. And so what this really means is that we need to teach kids to identify what's beautiful for them, to have an appreciation of things that are beautiful and show them our appreciation of things that are beautiful, but also help them understand that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that what looks beautiful to one person may not look beautiful to another, and vice versa. And so aesthetics are a very personal thing, but that developing a sense of aesthetics and realizing what is beautiful to you is an important part of the arts curriculum. And the inquiry curriculum is, I believe it's the last one we're going to be talking about. And that includes math, science, social studies. And there is a process, an inquiry process. And this process includes exploring, identifying, classifying, hypothesizing, and generalizing. So exploring means to use the senses to observe, investigate, and manipulate. Identifying is to name and describe what is experienced. Classifying is grouping objects or experiences by their common characteristics. Comparing and contrasting, which is part of classifying, is about observing similarities and differences between objects or experiencing. And then hypothesizing is using the data from your experiences to make guesses or hypotheses about what might happen. And the last part, generalizing, is applying previous experience to new events so that the things that you learn can be applied in other areas of life. When you're doing inquiry, it's really important that you use open-ended questions to support this. Children are encouraged to think when they're asked open-ended questions. And again, open-ended question is any question that cannot be answered with yes or no. Open-ended questions can be answered in lots of different ways, and you want to ask questions and make statements that help children to reason. Things like, what do you suppose? How do you know? What might happen if? Or how could we find out? You want to help them to notice details, so you might say things like, what do you see, hear, feel, or smell? You might say, I wonder why clouds are moving so quickly. Or, I can feel the rabbit's heart is beating fast and hard. I wonder what that means. You want to help them to make comparisons. So how are these the same? How are these different? Look at how different each shell is. Can you describe the differences? And then help them come to conclusions. What would happen if, or why do you suppose that's happening, and that kind of thing. So these are the ways that we can encourage children to support, that we can support their inquiry, which is their curiosity. Math is another really big part of the curriculum, and some of the math concepts that young children should be exploring in the preschool and kindergarten areas and younger is going to be matching, sorting and classifying, ordering and seriation, number, operations, patterns, geometry and spatial space, shape, data analysis, probability, and measurement. I am not going to go through what each one of those things means. There's a really nice chart on page 399 in your textbook that has a really good definition for each one of these things. And it explains different ways that children might demonstrate their understanding of this. So I'll give you one example from that page. So for sorting and classifying, what it is it just means sorting or grouping by shared characteristics. And one thing that they might do is to put all the beads in a basket and all the buttons in a box. Or maybe you have all beads and they put all the red ones in one pile and all the yellow ones in a pile. Or maybe they sort them by big or small. But please look at the chart on page 399 to see what these math concepts mean and examples of how they are demonstrated in early childhood. The science curriculum in early childhood has three broad categories. The first one is the life sciences, which is the study of the structures, origins, growth, and reproduction of plants and animals. And for this kind of science, this is where kids study like the life cycle of a butterfly, and they have a caterpillar in the classroom and they watch these caterpillars, develop into butterflies and then release the butterflies. Or this might be the lesson where you plant a seed and watch it grow and watch it sprout, and that kind of stuff. The second one is the physical sciences, and this is the study of objects, materials, and energy and the interactions between them. For this is learned when children explore and observe observe the properties of substances. So this is the actual science experiments you might do. Like, if we leave this leaf out in the sun, what's going to happen to it? And if we put this one in a plastic baggie, what will happen to it? And just testing different hypotheses on different parts of the environment. So watching how long it takes a piece of bread to mold or something to that effect. And then the earth sciences is the study of common features of the earth, sky, and oceans. And so this might be children wondering about the common features of the earth. So you could be doing things like the water cycle, and you might talk about clouds and rain. You might talk about rocks and rock formation. You could talk about astronomy and the stars, and you can talk about like the weather patterns and things like that. These are some of the concepts that fall into early childhood earth sciences. And then the final part of the inquiry curriculum is the social studies curriculum. And social studies curriculum focuses on relationships among people, and then also relationships between people and the world around them. So some of the things that are important with social studies is that social studies can help children to appreciate and respect themselves. They can appreciate and respect older people, their own culture, and the environment that they come from. It should help kids to deal with important issues in their lives, like how should I react to this? How have people reacted in the past? It should help kids develop a sense of belonging to and a responsibility for their family, community, and environment. So social studies teaches us where we fit, how we fit in, and why it's important for that. Social studies also helps recognize some of the significant patterns that shape people's lives in the world. So it's that idea of those who don't know history are bound to repeat it. Social studies helps us learn from our past and the past mistakes of the people that came before us. Social studies helps us explore, understand, and experience aspects of the world that lay the foundation for later social studies. Like what you learn in kindergarten social studies will help you later when you're studying history and AP human bio or whatever. So, and then it also just helps you develop skills in a range of subject areas. Social studies brings together a lot of other topic areas that can make content connections really easy for kids. And the last slide is just the learning outcomes again, one more time. So hopefully, and if you want to kind of test yourself to see if you can do these 5 things, you should be able to explain what curriculum is in early childhood programs and why it's different for curriculum for older children. Kind of skip the last part about that. If you can explain what curriculum is in early childhood programs, you're good. You should be able to summarize the components of the physical development curriculum, what gross and fine motor development and sensory awareness all are. You should be able to describe the communication curriculum areas, which include language, literacy, and literature. Like, what are those 3 things? You should be able to identify and explain the creative arts curriculum areas, including art, music, creative movement, and aesthetics. And then you should also be able to recognize and describe the inquiry curriculum areas, math, science, and social studies. And if you need a little bit more information, please go back to your textbook and continue reading chapter 10.